Welcome back, Halo followers. Today we have several juicy Halo stories to recap. The first one is that Halo Infinite was almost an Overwatch clone, so to speak, or a hero shooter. This is pretty crazy, but we'll talk more about that later. We have two new cinematics for Halo Infinite Season 2, including a cutscene, which I'll play after this intro, and also a graphic teasing some kind of big event potentially, or something that's going to continuously go over Season 2, 3, and 4, and so on. And we have news that Forge is here to stay, and 343 directly responds to the distressed Halo community. This live stream, about an hour and a half, talks a lot about the tension, including how they are gutted about Season 2 and 3 being extended and why they're doing this. So guys, be sure to smash that like button before we jump into it. Be sure to subscribe if you want to join me on the journey. Jumping right into it, let's talk about this new cinematic. I'm going to play it here in just a moment, but this Spartan here, as well with future cinematics for seasons and narrative events, is actually going to have your multiplayer Spartan rendered in the cutscene whenever you watch it. So when you watch this for the first time, you'll actually see your own Spartan, which is just a cool cliff note that I learned here.
Medic, on me.
Yes, grab that crate, medic back.
No. They aren't hostiles. They're wolves. Back from the hunt.
This Neuralink is corrupted, ma'am. I'll have to pull the chip and...
No! Do that, he dies. And we lose everything he risked his life for.
So whenever we start the event, I think that we'll actually be jumping into gameplay right after this cutscene, since the camera flies into his helmet, which is what happened with Chief quite a lot throughout the campaign. So just some food for thought. Very interesting. Dialogue is a little bit rough in my opinion, but whatever. It's a cool scene. Now we also have a graphic teaser of sorts. We do know that these narrative events are going to tie into each other over seasons, so it could tie into a battle royale mode or a conquest mode of sorts, a 100 player including bot mode that might be coming in Season 3 or Season 4 that we've heard so much about through rumors and teases of sorts. But we do know that there are two events coming to Season 2, which one is called Alpha Pack, which was probably regarding that first cutscene that we saw, and then Interference is the other one. So this might actually just be the narrative event whole trailer kind of thing, or it might be teasing a cinematic or a longer graphic trailer of sorts or cutscene of sorts. I don't know, but anyways, the fact that it's called Interference as one of the narrative events is probably the one that we're going to be getting first, and then July 19th to August 1st, that's when the Alpha Pack narrative event is coming. So Forge Lord at 343 says the open beta won't be a flight, it will be a part of the live game, and according to the roadmap, the Forge open beta is dropping in September, right? That is a September target anyway. I think that is subject to change potentially, but that is what they're aiming for. But whenever Forge does release, it is here to stay as a beta. It's never going to go away until it is finished. My worry is that, can we save maps? Can we play with friends? Things like that. Is it going to break maps in the final version compared to the beta? Like, will beta Forge maps work in the final Forge? I don't know, but we'll see whenever time gets closer to that. So Sketch said, I am indeed ready for some new maps, new modes, new events, and to me, at least, the new customization content is a pretty big step up, plus quite a few nice improvements and tweaks across the game. And a Twitter user actually said this, excited for the new additional customization, but it doesn't feel like the amount of maps and modes aren't quite enough to last a full 6 months. Hopefully, future seasons deliver more impactful developments going to stick around and play casually here and there throughout the season, which Sketch replied, no argument here, agreed it's not ideal from a content and duration perspective. The team has a lot to go after, we'll get there. So yes, this is something that 343 has been pretty open about, talking about directly recently, and they've been responding to, you know. Obviously a lot of people are upset, and they even say this in the live stream, in which I'll play here, where Joseph Staten and Sketch actually talk about this a little bit in detail and say that they're not super happy with it either.
That season 2 will last longer than they expected.
Yep.
Joseph, can you just talk a little bit about like why are we making this deliberate decision?
Well, one thing to make really clear, none of us inside of 343 look at this roadmap and are happy with it. You know, all of us want to be doing things faster to deliver more content. You know, we still have this desire to get into a rhythm, a healthy rhythm, where we can ship a season every 3 months. So for us internally, it was painful, frankly, to communicate this roadmap with a season that was going to run for another 6 months. But the reason why we're doing that is exactly what we talked about before. We have to prioritize going after quality of life issues that are impacting the game right now.
I did want to also just add one more thing, Joseph. When we talk about these drop pods, I think it's safe to say, and we should just be upfront about this, this is not a world where we're just going to have a flurry of 3 or 4 drop pods and then, cool, we've addressed all the feedback,
Right.
We're back in business again. Like,
Right.
I mean, to be clear, this is an ongoing commitment.
Yeah, and that's part of running a live game, right?
So there was this post regarding Playable Elites and exactly how they should be handled. It was quite a large image with a lot of text, right? A lot of text. And Sketch said this, which he was tagged in the post, but he actually responded to it. He said, "I applaud your passion and gusto, but I will give it to you straight. We have a lot of fundamental issues to go after. We may eventually get Playable Elites, but sorry to say it's not a current priority or actively being worked on right now." Yes, so he does admit that we may eventually get Playable Elites, but again, it's not something that they're really thinking about. So if we as a community push for it, I bet we could get Playable Elites down the road, but I gotta say, there are more important things right now that need to be addressed. Joseph Staten said this, "I appreciate the commitment." Someone was talking about Cortana being an AI, and he says, "As much as I love Cortana and Jen Taylor, there are no current plans to make Cortana an AI in multiplayer." I really do hope they have plans at some point to make AI turn off AI. That might be a feature already, I don't know, but I'm genuinely annoyed every time I play the game. The AI voices are just really, really annoying, and I think Jeff Steitzer could also be an AI voice, because that would just make a lot more sense, I think. We're a lot more used to that voice. But anyways, Jason, this is a verified account on Reddit, and this guy is actually someone that has covered some pretty big stories with Halo Infinite in the past. So he has said things like how 343 had development trouble years ago before we really had any solid rumored evidence that there was something bad going at 343 besides just speculation. And Jason broke that story. He broke several stories, I think, but he says this was actually cut from my article late last year. Yes, 343 spent a while prototyping a hero-based system. I don't remember exactly when they switched to the current version, and the tweet linked here seems exaggerated to the point where it's mostly false. But I can confirm that they were working on a various hero-based prototypes. In fact, I think they were both PvP and PvE prototypes built. This, I have suspected, might be why 343 has wasted some of those earlier years after Halo 5 during Halo Infinite's development, such as 2015 to 2018. I think that they spent about 3 years working on a hero-based game. And if you don't know what this is, a hero shooter, think Overwatch, right? So basically, they spent a lot of time trying to rework and reimagine what Halo is, which would have, of course, been an absolute disaster. So a Twitter user tagged Paul Russell. Paul Russell was an employee of Bungie back in the day. He was an environment artist for Halo 1, 2, 3, ODST, and Reach. Pretty much all the mainline Halo games. And he said, "I was wondering what happened to you after the Bungie split. Did 343 ever ask you if you wanted to work with them? Is there any particular reason that the original devs went in different directions? I know this is personal, feel free not to answer." Paul Russell actually responded. He said, "I interviewed with 343, but they were reticent to hire Bungie people," which really means that they weren't eager or revealing their true intentions or thoughts about wanting to hire Bungie people at all. He says, "Also, full disclosure, my presentation wasn't great. No one at Bungie wanted to make Halo after CE. Bungie was asked to do Halo Forever, which is why the split happened." And Halo VFX actually said, "I'm curious why they'd be off hiring Bungie folk. Completely understand why you wouldn't, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, etc." He said, "Simple version is, they were reinventing the franchise and wanted completely new ideas. Anyone coming from Bungie might not adapt to that, carried too much bias. I understood and agreed with that choice. I enjoyed defiance of expectations. I still worked on Halo 4 at certain affinity. So yeah, it seems like actually the more I learned about certain affinity, it seems like more Bungie people went over to that studio than 343. I could be wrong about that, but yes, it does make me upset, honestly, reading this, because obviously 343 was trying to reinvent the franchise. They wanted completely new ideas, and which my other video that I may or may not have released yet about Halo having and struggling with a broader audience status is the reason that Halo is dying. So yes, quite a few stories to recap today. Guys, you let me know what you're most excited for. There is a lot of content here to think about, a lot of news to think about, but I am pretty excited for Season 2. We are just a few days away from the drop, and really looking forward to it. So yeah, you guys let me know your own thoughts. Be sure to smash that like button blue if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next one soon. Peace.